Hello everyone. Now I decided to choose a very long Hinden game since I figured it would give me an opportunity to mention some of the things that I want to talk about. First of all, the matchmaking in this game is very heavily tier 10 focused, very high tier. The Conqueror is just one of my subs who happened to join our division, but mostly I'm playing with Runner and he's pushing towards C, so my plan is of course to support him. Speaking of OMNI, OMNI managed to win the ClanWars season 1, I guess. This was season 1. It ended just last Wednesday, and OMNI clinched the top spot. So that is of course always extremely satisfying. It's one thing to claim you're the best, and it's another thing to prove it by ending up as number 1 in Typhoon 1. So that's of course extremely satisfying. If you want to see some of the VODs of the matches we played, you can check my Twitch channel. You can just click videos on my Twitch channel and there's previous VODs of basically look for any VOD that says OMNI ClanWars or OMNI CBs, clan battles, so forth, and there will be a lot of Clan War gameplay on my stream. I haven't bothered exporting too much of that to YouTube because usually they are like long segments, like 3 to 4 hours of Clan Wars non-stop, so it's a bit much to export at once. Another thing, my tanking competition came to an end and we have our winners. The big congratulations goes to Simolal from who played a Große Kurfürst and managed to tank a pretty damn insane 7 million potential damage. 7,031,400 to be exact, and he managed to clinch the top spot. Now I'm gonna take a break before I mention the second one, because do you know what happens when a Neptune gives even the slightest bit of broadside to a Hindenburg? Yep, that's exactly what happens. It becomes a very short game for Mr. Neptune. Second place winner, who gets a Loyang, Pirogoeth, a Große Kurfürst, gets the Loyang with 6.33, actually, let me say that in a better way, 6,338,700 potential damage. Third place, Fox's Shadow in a Yamato, 6,320,800 in a Yamato. Fourth place wins a Scharnhorst, Xutoo with a Yamato, 5,572,500 potential damage, and the fifth place goes to AndyZeeLewis in a Große Kurfürst, tanking 5.5 million. So even though there was a lot of entrances, in fact I think something like 200 people sent their replays. Thank you very much for taking part. That was a pretty huge participation. The difference is still pretty massive. The winner has 1.5 million potential more than the fifth place. Some very close fights between places 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, but ultimately the winner is certainly well deserved. Not surprisingly, the game he had, I showed it on stream, it featured 2 Minotaurs shooting him much of the game. In fact, most of the people who got really heavy potential damages were people who had Minotaurs against them, and the Minotaurs would just non-stop spam them with AP all game long, and that rainbow of fire gave them a ton of potential damage. Anyway, Clan Wars and the tanking competition winners. You can stop sending me replays, by the way, now, since since the winners have been decided, the prizes will be given out. You don't need to do anything to claim your prizes. I've already let Wargaming know about who the decided winners are, and Wargaming will deal with it. And of course, shooting a full broadside rune, 8 Overpens, feels good, man. And there's nothing you need to do. The prizes are on the way. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll try to think of some fun competition to organize for my NA viewers. Since this tanking competition was of course EU only, I'd love to give something to my NA viewers as well. Now, moving on. The game itself. As I've racked up a pretty good 82,000 damage. We got a pretty good advantage at this point. But if random battles have taught me anything in all the time I've been playing this game, is that they can flip extremely quickly. Your team can find the most magical of ways to throw the game. And in fact, Runner goes down to Yamato AP, and the enemy team is capping A. We have a Fletcher in there who's quite alone against a huge horde of enemies. Now, usually going A on this map is a terrible idea. But the problem is, the enemy team has a huge blob there, and we got a bunch of cruisers who's trying to pick a fight with them. So I do not expect to see our DDs or cruisers live particularly long trying to fight that many people. I should mention one thing, by the way. In case you're wondering why my client is in Russian, it's because the patch just recently came out, and I tried to play my replay. This is played on EU, this is on my main account. I tried to play it on my EU client, but it didn't work because it was updated. So I had to play the replay on my Russian client that I haven't updated yet. So I was actually able to play this older replay file on this one. Now, the Hindenburg, I am spec'd out of ClanWars build, which means of course I'm running reload mod instead of range mod. For ranked, of course, running range mod was the way to go, but once you're outside of ranked, it's fun to be able to go back to this DPM monster that is the Hindenburg. Of course, the additional penetration of the HE really shows against this Yamato, that is if I would stop hitting his belt, and you can see the massive damage he's eating. He also eats double fires, and I assume he doesn't have any repair. Quickly using torps to estimate his speed, that's something people tend to slack with a lot. If you have torpedoes, just quickly press 3 to get an idea of if he's accelerating, he's turning, he's slowing down, reversing, whatever, and it makes it so much easier to keep that rain of fire going. And you can see the amount of raw damage plus fire that I'm able to bring down on him. This guy is pretty much dead at this point. I mean, the biggest problem with the Yamato is if you find yourself in a bad position, it's really hard to disengage. Especially since my Conqueror, well, he's kind of deep and kind of suiciding at this point. He is one of my subs. His positioning is quite YOLO at this point. But the good thing is that he's actually spotting this Yamato, so the Yamato can't stop shooting and go undetected at any point. So that, of course, gives me the opportunity to do what a cruiser does best, and that is farm non-stop damage on this Yamato. He's giving broadside, so AP would actually be quite good here, but since I know he's used his repair, I want to make sure I can burn him down and finish this kill. And he does in fact go down. Some big AP pens, not much you can do about those. Yamato shooting at a cruiser is always going to be unfun. And as I mentioned, the game can turn quite quickly. We had a 3-ship lead, suddenly we're tied for ships, we're tied for caps, and the enemy is pushing into B. I'm hoping to get some AP pens on the Scharnhorst. Note that when you shoot battleships that are even slightly angled with German AP, you want to aim for the superstructure, because your shells will simply bounce. Trying to get some quick shots on the Mogami. He is reversing, he is quite far away. I think he's just a bit angled though. Actually, he's quite a bit angled. He's angling even further, so it's unlikely I'm going to get any good pens. Hoping to get some sneaky citadels on him. But ultimately he reversed and he backed off, so now I have to focus on the Scharnhorst himself. You shouldn't have too many issues with battleships, as long as you maintain your angling as you push into them. If you get too close, of course, they have an easy time landing shells, but at moderate distances like this one, you should have a fairly easy time of burning them to death. I don't have time to get the kill as the Yamato finishes him, but at the same time we lose a member as well. So suddenly the game is once more tied, what, 7 versus 7 at this point? Trying to get some early shells on the Conqueror as he's coming around the corner. What is quite important to note is that I'm running a bit of a weird build. I've changed my Hindenburg build. I will show you guys later what kind of build I'm running, but I'm actually running the spotter plane module on my Hindenburg because I like the increased range you get from spotter plane, but I also like the increased damage that you get from running the reload mod. So I've kind of combined the best of both worlds by running spotter plane mod and reload mod. So I have very good close range DPM and very good long range DPM as well. The downside is of course squishier turrets, squishier torpedo tubes. In fact, you might have noted when the Conqueror shot me there, 3 of my torpedo tubes were temporarily knocked out. And that's of course the downside. All your modules break quite easily because you're not running the module health and torpedo tube health and so forth. Gotta be a bit careful here, since Conqueror HE is pretty nasty. You can't really angle against it. I angle away, he still hits me for 7k. 7k might not sound like a lot, but when your health pool is 51k, 52k, and you're half HP already, 7k starts to sting a fair amount. At this point though, I disengage. I want to see if I can focus these two guys here. I pop spotter plane, see if I can help my Neptune. Once again, you can note that how far or how long my spotter plane is in the air. It's more than 2 minutes of spotter plane. And this is of course the advantage of running the module. It also helps when you want to shoot over obstacles, in this case over this island, and you want to get a better view of what they're doing on the other side. It does require some experience running the spotter plane though, because I know a lot of people have issues landing shells with the spotter plane. It's not easy to use. Oh, Mogami was hiding behind the island and he was waiting for a shot. I actually quite like that. I think that's a smart play by the Mogami. He's in such a position that I struggle to return fire, because if I want to shoot him I have to give broadside to the Bismarck, and he's able to pretty much spam me undetected from there. And that's the kind of play I can respect from a cruiser. That's exactly how you should play a cruiser. If you're able to deal damage on the enemy, and the enemy struggles to deal any damage back, then your positioning is probably pretty damn good. And right now that Mogami's position is extremely good at harassing me. The Henry pops around the corner as well, and now I'm starting to heavily consider disengaging entirely, because I got 3 people shooting me, and the Bismarck is so far away that I can't really consistently land as many shells I would want to and get as many fires as I would want to. So I start kiting away full speed. The Henry is unlikely to chase me because my team is here. We still have 3 battleships kind of sitting in our spawn waiting around and not really doing much. Oh, another thing I should probably mention, I'll be going live today, or well, actually when I upload this video it's going to be today, but since I'm finishing this commentary on a Thursday evening, tomorrow I'll be going live 18 CET, my normal time, with my stream, and I will be featuring the updated Salem, which means of course the Salem with the which is the Des Moines with the super heal, so it's going to be an extremely tanky Des Moines. I'm going to be featuring the new updated Roma. I don't really know what they've changed on it besides the Sigma. And I'm going to be featuring a completely new ship that people have hyped up quite a bit. I'm quite hyped to test it as well. And no one has been able to test it, or us CCs haven't been able to test it until now. It's sadly under NDA, so I can't mention the name of the ship, but a lot of people have been looking forward to it. And it should generate a fair amount. Well, there should be quite a lot of interest in seeing how the ship performs, my own interest included. I do get undetected in briefly. At these ranges, picking a fight with the Mogami isn't worth it. I want to get closer. I want to be able to bring this AP DPM to bear, because while the Hindenburg is good at long ranges, it's still the king of close range. You want to get in there, you want to get close and be able to bring all that firepower, potentially all the torpedoes. You want to bring all that damage to bear. I'm looking at my team and I'm a bit sad to see that we lost B, and we kind of got like 3 battleships. It's kind of just like sitting in our spawn, and we're losing caps one by one, and they're not really reacting. The Mogami, the cruiser, actually did the most. The cruiser who died managed to take the Conqueror with him, which is a great trade. If a tier 8 cruiser trades with a tier 10 battleship, that's an amazing play. Bismarck pops up, I have AP ready for him. Not as much damage as I had hoped. I think I might have aimed a bit too low, but it's kind of hard because if you aim too high you get overpens, if you aim too low you get shatters on the belt. You want to hit the upper belt, so I guess the aim was okay. It kind of comes down to RNG. He starts angling, I aim for his superstructure. Still though, I decide to switch to HE, because ultimately HE is just more consistent. Plus there's a chance of starting those fires. Mogami pops up on the minimap before he renders, so I'm already switching to AP, and I'm gonna see if I can maybe get some surprise hits on him as he tries to get some surprise hits on me. At this point, we've already accrued well over 200k damage, and my team has given up all the caps. Our Yamato is actually going in and doing something about it. My Kurfürst though, well, he's almost full HP still, and he's the one who should be pushing in. He's the one who should be leading the charge here. I'm not very impressed with him at this point, because a Kurfürst with Hydro is significantly better at pushing in towards a DD than a Yamato is. And I'd really love to see him play a bit more aggressive into the capture points. And We need to secure some kills now to still maintain the game, because we have lost the lead at this point, and we need to finish these kills. I'm hoping to get a good volley on the Mogami as he pops by full broadside, something you should of course never do in the Mogami. Unfortunately, I get 7 overpens and only 1 citadel, so the Mogami kinda gets away with making a pretty damn big mistake. Bismarck should be finished though. Kurfürst finishes him off, that's excellent. He probably shot me with his last... No, he didn't shoot me, that's good. I'm in a bit of a crossfire here, but I'll get into cover soon. Now the biggest threat right now, I don't think the Mogami is a threat at this point. The Kurfürst is chasing him, the Yamato is also kind of locking down the Mogami from pushing. I think the biggest threat right now is the Shimakaze in C and the Montana in C. I can't do anything about the Shimakaze, because I can't see him, but the Montana is certainly there, and it's a TTT player. And TTT is another Typhoon 1 clan, so obviously their players have a pretty good idea of what they're doing, so obviously I'm going to start working on him, try to get as much pressure on him as possible. He started turning broadside, so I switched to AP. Even though it didn't actually do that much damage, you note that he instantly started angling in towards me, and that's of course that threat of that huge 8p damage. He cannot afford to keep pushing towards our Yamato, because if he keeps pushing towards our Yamato, he's giving broadside to me, or even our Yamato as well. And now he's sitting angled in, kinda locked into position, and that's when I switched to HE. He started aiming at me, so I moved forward, so I put the island between me and him, so that he does no longer have any vision of me, and I can basically shoot him from behind cover. Exactly as I mentioned that the Mogami did earlier, which was very, very well done. He's a good player though, as I mentioned, so he instantly pops his spotter plane, and this gives him vision on the other side of the island. I react as soon as I see the plane and start accelerating and turning away, so what he hoped to be a devastating volley on me ends up being just a couple of pens. As soon as you see a battleship on the other side of the island, like that, pop a plane, start accelerating. You're gonna get plane spotted, and there's a good if a good player does that, like he did there, the reason is obvious. He wants to get vision of you so he can shoot you. So you need to be quick on those reactions and not get caught with your pants down, because that was quite close. In this case though, at this point we should have the victory in our bag. It's not entirely sure though, because there's still a Shima. I assume he's somewhere behind the islands, because if he wasn't, I would be spotted at this point. So I know he's somewhere behind there. Torps pop on my left. So he's probably somewhere, he's about to be somewhere in front of me. I get detected. This gives me a lot of information. He's either in the gap on my right or he's on my left. The detection stays. That means it's unlikely that he's in the gap. He's already on my left side. He's sailed out of the gap and he's moving basically deeper into our spawn. And it's important now that I zone out this DD. My battleship is capping C. He can still win it though. If he kills both my battleships, this game is over. They get enough points that I think it's unlikely that we can climb back in time. So the best thing I can do right now is zone him out. And I do this by pressing extremely aggressively towards where I expect him to be. I think he'll be somewhere in front of me, because that's where he wants to go to torp the Yamato on my left. So I am physically zoning out the DD. If he wants to torp the Yamato, he has to send his torps past me, or he has to torp me instead. His choice is to try to torp, I assume, dual purpose. It might be me, it might be the Yamato behind me, but I scout the torps plenty ahead, so the Yamato should have time to dodge them, unless he's, of course, completely asleep at the wheel. Note that I also popped my spotter planes, and I'm running the dual spotter plane mod, which means I have 2 planes up, which gives me advanced warning of incoming torpedoes. More torps. He actually manages to kill the Yamato, which is a bit surprising, unfortunate, but the fact that the earlier torp came from the right and the next torp volley came from the left tells me that he's actually sailing deeper into our spawn. So I angle even deeper and I keep pressuring him, I keep forcing him deeper into his gap and forcing him away from our Yamato as we slowly win the points. And at this point, there's 10 seconds left. Even if he manages to torp me, it wouldn't matter anymore. The game is over, and we've actually managed to clutch this game and clutch a win out of it, which is of course extremely satisfying. In fact, looking at the victory screen, 252,000 damage, Actually, only 2 kills. I only managed to get 2 kills, one of them which was the Neptune. Still though, I got Confederate High Caliber and Dreadnought, which is a pretty base set of you did well type of rewards. Like you did a fair amount of tanking, you did a fair amount of damage, you performed well this game. Looking at team score, 2.8k base XP, which getting 3k XP without a single cap, or I think, did I have a single cap reset? I think I had some cap resets, but without a single cap, it's always satisfying, especially in a Hindenburg that doesn't have that big of an XP modifier. Like for example, the Des Moines has a massive XP modifier. The Hindenburg, on the other hand, doesn't have the same type, so it's satisfying. Also, looking at the enemy team, there were some, as I mentioned, TTT, there were some Kings players and so forth. They're players you have learned to recognize from Typhoon. So, satisfying ending to this one. Detailed report, 91k spotting damage. That's of course the dual spotter planes coming in extremely valuable. 2.1 million potential damage. That's of course the Hindenburg's angle tankiness, which is very, very good. And damage dealt, almost a wither, but pretty evenly matched between AP and HE. Anyway, let me show you guys my recommended build for this ship, since it has changed a bit. Right, before I start, this is of course always extremely satisfying to show. Now that the season has ended, the pilot season has ended, team number 1, OMNI. That is extremely satisfying, considering how long this season went on and how many up and downs we had. Like, there were a lot of people, we wanted to get the 30 wins to everyone, because if you got the 30 wins in Typhoon, you got this flag. Let me show you, this flag, Stalingrad. And if you get 3 of these flags, then you can exchange them for the Stalingrad tier 10 cruiser. So we wanted to make sure every member who's in our clan got this flag, so that when the ship finally comes out, everyone will have access to it. So even with making sure that all the members got it, still managing to get rank 1 is of course very satisfying. Anyway, moving on to the Hindenburg itself. Consumable wise, premium repair, premium heal, 2 priorities. Defensive AA, especially with how ridiculous Midway is these days, and spotter plane for obvious reasons. Upgrade wise, spotting aircraft mod, 30% extra aircraft duration. If you don't have this one, just run the main armaments one, but I actually really like this one for the build, because I think it makes the Hindenburg especially good at pretty much all ranges. It eliminates the weakness of running the reload mod. Increased AA duration, especially once again with Midway being ridiculous, and since we're running defensive AA anyway, we might as well use it. AA range, additional AA range, so we buff it. I think we buff this one to, this is with AFT, so we buff it to 7.2 and 6.5. With defensive AA, the Hindenburg absolutely shreds planes. So don't make the mistake of thinking you have weak AA. The thing is an absolute monster against planes. Faster rudder shift, extremely important. Concealment and reload module for that additional DPM. Captain perks wise, priority target, absolute number 1. Adrenaline rush, superintendent for additional heal, spotter plane, defensive AA, all of that. Concealment expert, followed by AFT for the AA range, followed by improved fire chance, followed by faster shell reload, because the AP is so strong on the Hinden. You want to be able to switch quickly to AP to put those devastating strikes, like the one you saw on the Neptune. You want to be able to pull those off whenever possible. And finally, of course, increasing your spotting potential by running the dual spotter planes. You saw the game earlier, 91,000 spotting damage in that game. That's because you have 2 planes constantly circling you, constantly giving your team information. It's extremely, extremely valuable. Flag-wise, priority number 1, I would say heal, speed if you want. The fire chance flags are probably more valuable. Detonation flag if you can spare it. I think this is actually my ClanWars build. These are my ClanWars flags. For randoms I probably wouldn't run this one, and I probably wouldn't bother with this one for randoms either. Fire flags, I don't know, not really that necessary for random battles either. I think these are the core random battle flags. You might run AA flag as well, and the rest is just into whatever you feel like. Camo wise, well, that's not really that important. I'm running the premium camo, of course, because I play so much Hindenburg. I love this ship. I got 1.9 million XP earned in it, so I might as well buy myself the premium camo back in the day, and this one has certainly paid itself back more than enough. Anyway, that was my Hindenburg commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you guys later.